Heard about the Johnstown Flood all of my life, but I really didn't know much about it. So we stopped to look at those photographs, and the level of violence, the total destruction that was revealed there was simply stunning. 2,500 people have been killed, just about exactly the same number as died in 9/11. So I decided, I'm going to get a book. I read about it. What went wrong? What happened? I took the book out of the library. It was not very good. And the author didn't understand, for one thing, the geography of Western Pennsylvania. I at least knew that. And I must say, I'm so pleased that we teach geography and history here together. You cannot understand one without the other. So I took another book out, and it was worse. It was a pot boiler written at the time, and it was mostly all, as Harry Truman would say, hooey. And that was his polite term for it. So I remembered what Thornton Wilder had said. I write the book I would like to read. Why don't you try and write the book about the Johnstown Flood that you would like to read? I was an English major. I knew nothing about doing historical research. But I thought, let's try. And that was my first book. Immediately after it was published, along came two other publishers from my own. One wanted me to do the Chicago fire. The other wanted me to do the San Francisco earthquake. I was being typecast at age 32 as Bad News McCullough. And I had no stomach for that. I really had no interest in disasters. But the Johnstown Flood is a different kind of subject. Harry Truman said the only new thing in the world is the history you don't know. Oh, that the people who have been responsible for what happened in Katrina had read about the Johnstown Flood. History repeating itself. Everything that went wrong had been predicted would go wrong. The lesson of the Johnstown, I'm often asked to be at the start of a project, well, what's your theme? And I have no idea what my theme is. It's one of the reasons I'm writing the book. But I always say, well, that's something I'm really thinking hard about. But about halfway through, it usually comes to me. I begin to see it. And the theme of the Johnstown Flood is very simple, and that is that it's extremely risky, perhaps even perilous, to assume that because people are in positions of responsibility, they are therefore behaving responsibly. Every day, it seems, we are confronted with that. Well, when they asked me to do the Chicago fire or the San Francisco earthquake, I said no. And what I wanted desperately was a symbol of affirmation. Johnstown is a story of irresponsibility, of human short-sightedness, of blindness to the writing on the wall. It was man at his most thoughtless and naive. And I know we human beings are capable of much more than that. We're not always dumbcocks. We're not always selfish. We're not always mean-spirited or avaricious. And I wanted to do something that wasn't about war, something that was a great accomplishment beyond war, something that was a great accomplishment as a work of art, a work of construction that involved hundreds of people. And I can tell you that it was one of the worst periods of my working life. Months went by and I couldn't find a subject. And then one day, at lunch with a few friends, one was an engineer, the other was a professor of architecture. They began talking about what the builders of the Brooklyn Bridge didn't know about what was in for them when they set out to build that great structure. And I knew immediately, that's it. Why did I know? Because the Roeblings came from Western Pennsylvania. It was part of me. because Rosalie and I had lived in Brooklyn Heights when we were first married, used to walk the baby in the baby carriage across the bridge. And because when I was at Yale, the brilliant art and architecture historian Vincent Scully had given one of the most riveting lectures I'd ever heard in my life on the Brooklyn Bridge.